Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 2 recipes with you. So this week's What's for Dinner is going to be a little bit different. These 2 recipes are a little bit more complicated and more time consuming, but I still wanted to share them with you because they are super, super yummy. If you want to see these 2 recipes for dinner this week, then just keep watching. Okay, so we are starting out by shredding up some cheese. As you can see, I did get my cheese grater to work on my stove. I can link this tool down below for you, but I am absolutely loving it now that I can actually use it. And then I'm going to put a little bit of butter in the bottom of a skillet and just let that melt down. And then we will add some garlic, and we're going to be cooking our mushrooms this way. So I'm just basically letting the garlic get fragrant and basically let it cook just a little bit. You don't want to burn it, of course, but when you start smelling it, that usually means that it's about done. Next, we're going to throw in our mushrooms. I use the Baby Bell that are pre-sliced and pre-washed and all that good stuff. I'm just going to throw those in and toss them around so the butter coats them. And I am having to tear up a couple as well. Some of them were a little bit bigger than what we wanted, but I'm just going to go ahead and season with salt and pepper. You want to season every layer, and this is the easiest way that I found to do that. Just season every layer that you cook. Don't over season, just, season as you go. And then we're going to get started by cutting up a little bit of onion. This was a giant onion, so I just chopped off like 1/4 of it, and we're just going to cut it up into slices. So here's what those mushrooms are looking like. I just wanted to show you the yummy goodness that they are giving right now. And then I'm just going to remove those from the pan and set them aside in just a bowl. And then we're going to get started on the onions. We're going to do the exact same thing with the onions. If you don't care for onions, you can obviously leave them out, but we do like onions in this house, so I wanted to go ahead and add them. But I'm just seasoning with salt and pepper. Again, seasoning every layer as you go. While the onions are cooking, I am going to go ahead and patty up our burgers. As you can see, I'm just cutting them into the exact portions that I want. I ended up making 6 burgers because I had 6 buns. So I'm just basically taking those out, and I'm going to season with seasoning salt, and then I have a barbecue blend that I like to use with my burgers. So I'm just going to throw those in there, and yes, I sanitized the jars after I got done. Sometimes you got to work like that. You can't wash and every single bit as you go. You kind of have to do it afterwards, especially when I'm trying not to burn my onions. So that is what I'm doing here. So here's what those onions look like. They are ready to come off the heat, and I am multitasking here, so kind of have to time everything perfectly, but I'm just going to remove the onions from the pan, and then I'm going to get started on the sauce. So I've got some butter here, and I'm going to add I think it ended up being about 3 ounces of cream cheese. I just kind of eyeballed it, but I did not have it softened, so I was kind of struggling with the cream cheese a little bit, but that's what this is here. You're just going to want to get it hot basically, and then you can add your half and half to it. So this sauce I came up with completely on my own. I didn't have a recipe or anything that I was going off of, but I can type out the directions and measurements down below for you. Of course, I didn't measure anything, but I eyeballed everything. So you know, if you're a more experienced cook, which is kind of what this video is geared towards, someone that's a little bit more experienced. But both of these recipes are adaptable, and you know, if you're not as experienced, then you can always just follow the directions that I leave down below for you. So anyway, I have added a little bit more half and half. I think I ended up adding about a cup of half and half, and I'm just letting the cream cheese melt, and then we will add in our Swiss cheese. So this is actually the sauce that is going to go on top of the burgers, so I did want it to be a little bit thicker. However, I did not realize how strong fresh Swiss cheese was, so just keep that in mind whenever you're making this. My Walmart only had the 16 ounces of the Swiss cheese, so a lot of this went to waste. But basically, you're just going to want to throw in a handful at a time. Just make sure that you're tasting as you go. And I'm just letting it all melt. I did end up adding like a half a handful next, but you know, just taste as you go. If it's not strong enough, add a little bit more, but just remember that you cannot take it away, so don't add too much right off the bat. And then you saw me, I just added the mushrooms and onions back in. We're just gonna let that simmer until the burgers are done. Here I'm using my favorite burger tool. This is a burger press, completely not necessary, but I can leave it linked down below for you. It definitely helps things along a little bit faster. Here's what that sauce looks like after it has been sitting for a little bit. You can see that it did thicken up quite a bit, which is exactly what you need because it's gonna be on top of a burger. So here I got a new pan, and I am throwing the burgers in the bottom of the skillet. Just gonna let those cook about 5 minutes on each side until they are done. And then I am getting started on the jalapeno poppers. So I've got some cream cheese here and some ranch dressing, just mixing that together to make the filling for the jalapeno poppers. So I've done this before in a what's for dinner video, but I can leave the recipe link down below for you that I use. These are just air fryer jalapeno poppers wrapped in bacon. They are amazing. My husband loves them. I love them. Even my kids like them, as long as we don't get a spicy jalapeno. But I will leave that recipe link down below for you, as well as the video that I originally made these in. These are amazing. If you like jalapenos, you have to try this. Okay, so here's what it looks like when it all came together. I've got my burger, those poppers, and we serve this with some fresh pineapple. So next we are working on our Trisha Yearwood company chicken. So I think I found this recipe on TikTok, and then I found it on Pinterest for an actual recipe, which I can definitely leave a link down below for you. I did cut this recipe in half because obviously it is geared towards a bigger get together, as it's called company chicken. But I'm basically just cutting my chicken breasts in half so that I have 4 equal portions. And then the key ingredient to this, I really believe, is the Italian seasoning dressing packet. I feel like that's what gives it a bunch of the flavor. So you're just going to use one of those packets and just make sure that you season both sides with it. And then we will get started on actually cooking. Okay, so here in this pan, I've got a little bit of butter and some oil. I had already cooked one batch before I remembered to start recording, so that's why it looks like that. But you're just gonna want to brown those on each side. You just want them to get a really pretty golden color like so. And then we will move them to our casserole dish. So after the chicken is removed, you just want to add some mushrooms to a dish, to the same pan, I mean. We use the baby Bella mushrooms, again, the ones that are already sliced and washed. Again, if you don't like mushrooms, you can leave this out, but I really do believe that it gives it great flavor. Also, I added just a little bit of salt to make sure that you're seasoning every layer, and just getting all those yummy bits off the bottom. And you saw that those mushrooms soaked up all of that butter and whatnot in the bottom. So here's what they look like, and we're just gonna throw those on top of the chicken, and then we will work on the yummy sauce. Okay, so this sauce recipe is a block of cream cheese, a can of cream of mushroom, which I do recommend splurging and getting the Campbell's, and then some chicken broth, and that is it. You just let all of this melt together, and I do recommend leaving your cream cheese out to soften before you try and do this, because at the end I didn't quite let it all melt down like I should have, and there were some chunks of cream cheese, which isn't a big deal, but you know, if you want it to be pretty for your company, then you want to make sure. But here's what it looks like as it is melting. Like I said, just make sure that it gets melted, and then we will throw it on top of our chicken after it is all melted together. So here's a closer look at the chicken before I put the sauce on top. Honestly, you could probably just eat it like this and it would be delicious. Also, I wanted to show that I was cooking some corn on the cob. My grandpa had brought this to me a couple of days before, and we wanted to get it eaten up. This is fresh corn on the cob, straight from a garden, and let me tell you, it was amazing. The grocery store has nothing on fresh corn on the cob. So I'm just filling up a pan of water with a little bit of salt, and we're just gonna let those boil on the stove until we are ready to eat. But now back to the chicken. So I've got the sauce here. It's finally all melted. You're just gonna throw that on top and put some foil on it and bake it in the oven until it's done. I think I baked it for about 45 minutes. Here is what everything looks like when it came out of the oven. As you can see, there are some chunks of cream cheese, and then I have our baked potato station and the corn on the cob. And then here's what my plate looks like. It is not the prettiest, but let me tell you, it is absolutely delicious. So that was gonna be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you tried these recipes, make sure and let me know down below what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. Other than that, I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.